Hello, everybody. It is the American Doofus Show. It is the Christmas Eve edition. Welcome. Don't be a doofus. I wanted to open with the sweatshirt because it's really important to me. My sister Donna gave this to me many years ago. She's been gone for a long time now. She bought it for me to wear when I was disc jockeying and I would make public appearances, and thought it was funny. And it's one of the only mementos I have of Christmas. And this Christmas is going to be hard. It's going to be hard not only for me, it's going to be hard for a lot of us. And I want to talk about that here at the beginning of this episode. Also, we're going to talk about True Soldier. We're going to talk a little bit about the NFAC, the explosion in Baltimore yesterday. And I've written a little poem for the end of this Christmas Eve episode. Depression is real. Anxiety is real. There's nothing to be ashamed of if you're suffering from one or the other or both or any kind of mental or emotional situation. There's nothing to be ashamed of. This has been an incredibly hard year, and it's an incredibly hard time, and for some it's an incredibly hard life. But we have to keep going. We have to keep pushing on. We have to keep trying to move things forward. And at times I need to be reminded of that, just as I'm reminding you of that right now. I got this email. It was from someone calling themselves American Cougar USA. 2 friends committed suicide this week, one a good-natured leftist, the other a good-hearted conservative. Sadly, both hearts beat no more. The first shot himself, and the second blew up his house after leaving a 9-page letter on Facebook. Political ideology is irrelevant now, drowned out by tears which have no political party. These deaths bring the death toll up to 3 friends who committed suicide since pandemic policy intensified old problems and created new ones. In honor of their loss and the battle facing myself and millions, I attempt to motivate myself and others so we don't have more tragic answers to the question, what happens when you're all clawed out? Some of us must survive this process, keep clawing back against depression, pandemic depression. I'm clawing back too. Let's save each other and use our experience to urge more rescue from within before it's too late. And this is from Real Life Gotham City of New Orleans. It's a human rights and motivational activist and grassroots security consultant. And a lot of truth there. What happens when you just feel like you can't fight anymore? What happens when you take a small break? You release, you exercise, you do something to re-energize, and then you keep going. You keep going. And you lean on people to give you strength to keep going, and you draw on people's strength to keep you going. And that's one of the reasons that I scheduled a couple of weeks ago when I was filling out the schedule, and I decided I'm going to do a Facebook, or going to do a live episode tomorrow night, Friday night on Christmas night at 10 o'clock. I announced it last Friday, by the way. And it was because I would have something to look forward to on Christmas night. I'd have the knowing that I was going to come on here and be able to talk with you on Christmas night, because it's not going to be a regular Christmas. It's not going to be close to a regular Christmas. Christmas Eve's normally spent with somebody special, a cozy, romantic night. Christmas Day's all the family. And this year it's going to be me and the cat and the dog. And it's going to be different, but it's going to be fine. We will get through it. I'll be here tomorrow night at 10 o'clock live, and hopefully you will be too. So the last episode we had True Soldier on, and I got just tons of messages and emails, and I thank you all. And so many positive and humbling emails, and a couple that were still kind of troubling. So for those that have been watching for a long time, you've heard this before. For those that are new to the program and are upset that I talk about the NFAC, talk about Grandmaster Jay, or talk about the Black community. Just because I'm white and I'm talking about the Black community, that's not wrong, okay? And thinking that's wrong is part of our problem. And so those that are saying stop, first of all, thank you for watching, but know that just know, have the knowledge that I'm not going to stop. And again, those of you that watch this have heard this time and time again, but for those that are new, the reason I document the NFAC and Grandmaster Jay is because nobody else has been doing it. And I've been doing it since July 4th, when I became aware during the first formation in Stone Mountain, Georgia. Now, that was the first formation. It wasn't the first activity. First activity was actually a Maud Arbery, and I just wasn't aware of that at the time. That has since subsequently been documented in here. And there are those that, well, the reason I'm doing it is because nobody is doing it and doing it right, and nobody has done it from the start. I just Googled NFAC, and here are the first few responses. Wikipedia says the Not Fucking Around Coalition is a Black nationalist paramilitary militia movement organization in the United States. The group advocates for Black liberation and separation. It has been described by news outlets as a Black militia. It denies any connection to the Black Panther Party or Black Lives Matter. Now, I'm pretty certain I've heard Grandmaster Jay read things from the Black Panther Party that would make that part of that at least not totally true, if not untrue. At justice.gov, it says NFAC leader Grandmaster Jay charged with assaulting law enforcement officers in Louisville. BET.com says leader of pro-Black group NFAC arrested and charged for anti-government ideology. To my knowledge, he was charged with weapons violations. Black Enterprise says Grandmaster Jay is the founder of the Not and then F Around Coalition, a Black nationalist paramilitary organization based in the South, when in fact the Southern Poverty Law Center recognizes the NFAC as one of four militias with a national presence. And then New York Daily News said NFAC leader Grandmaster Jay busted on federal charges. So it leaves you to wonder, well, what are those charges? And so that's why I've been doing it, and that's why I'm going to keep doing it. Okay, because we're trying to do it right. And speaking of Grandmaster Jay, I've said before I'd really like to have a sit down with him for this show and record an episode. And one of the things I'd really like to open up a discussion with, not only with Grandmaster Jay, but with everybody, is how do we get young Black people to stop killing each other? I know many of us recognize it's a huge problem. It's a concern. It's an epidemic, but it's one thing to recognize it. It's another thing to figure out how to do something about it. I don't have the answers, but I'm hoping I can open up some dialogue with people that might. That's kind of what we did with True Soldier in the last episode. We opened up dialogue, an older white dude sitting down and talking with a young, strong black man. A lot of people aren't going to see that anywhere but here. A lot of people aren't going to see a white person talking to a black person anywhere but here. And I think it's important. I think it's valuable. And I thank all of you for watching. And again, all of you for the support. And I look forward to having True Soldier back on. Just as I look forward to having Angry Knuckles back on. You know, we got to keep dialogue going. That's the only way we grow. And that takes us to the Baltimore explosion that happened yesterday. And everything I reported about it in the breaking news was true. So I thank my sources for that. 21 injured and taken to the hospital, none of them with life-threatening injuries. 23 total injured, 2 did not require hospitalization. The window washers were indeed rescued from the scaffolds through the windows. Part of the roof collapsed. Everything that we reported has proven to be true today. We just had it and got it up 24 hours before most other sources did. And we also did that with the Salem, Oregon story, where armed protesters were trying to take over the capital of the state of Oregon. And to my knowledge, CNN still has not reported on that. And I find that troubling. But anyway, the reason I felt it was so important to get the Baltimore explosion story out as quick as I got it out was because Donald Trump was talking about martial law, and having an explosion in a high-rise building plays right into that. So that's where my trust level is with what's coming out of Washington. The first thing I thought of was this is part of a grander plan. Thankfully, I was wrong and it wasn't. I didn't report that yesterday. I'm not reporting it as news. I'm just saying that's what was going through my head when I heard there was an explosion in a 23-story tall building in Baltimore, with the proximity of Baltimore to DC. So it was out of extreme mistrust, and that mistrust still exists. And it leads us to today's top story. And the top story on Christmas Eve, as I predicted, Donald Trump's going to Florida and probably not coming back. He will either resign down there or he will refuse to take part in a peaceful transition of power and simply avoid Washington, D.C. I said he would resign and Pence would pardon everyone, but in case you haven't heard, the president pardoned a whole lot of people, including some really sleazy people, before he left. And he created as big a mess as he possibly could, and then walked away from it with the concept of he has no responsibility for anything. So it's troubling. Now, he was right in saying yesterday that the stimulus should have been at a minimum $2,000. Most countries were giving $2,000 a month for the entire year to their citizens to help them through and to help them to be able to stay home and isolate and have the virus die down and eventually all but dissipate. And we weren't able to do that. We were given $1,200 at towards the beginning of this debacle, and then $600 was the offer. I've seen memes from showing Pelosi's head and Moscow Mitch McConnell's head on the people from Pawn Stars saying 600, take it or leave it. And the president was right. Donald Trump was right in saying that it shouldn't, 600 was a disgrace. It should have been at least $2,000. Now, the problem with it is he should have been saying that in June, July, August, September, October, November. for the past 6 months, somebody should have been saying that, not right at the very last minute to make it look like you're on the side of the people when we know you're not. I mean, we know you're not. Now, is Joe Biden? Probably not either, but he has some sense of decorum at least. So I want to end with this, something I wrote that I hope you'll find slightly humorous to end our Christmas Eve episode. It's called The Day Before Christmas. And I've got to cue up a little special effect. Okay, the day before Christmas. It was the day before Christmas in the house of Doofus. Started with a song from Shaka Khan and Rufus. Chaka Khan, Chaka Khan. And black folks want justice. And white folks say, why? There's no injustice when seen through some white eyes. Then came reports of an orange liar turning the country into a dumpster fire. He has some followers, so it's reported. Seems their education, some of them aborted. Stop the steal, they scream when it's them stealing. What's in some of their hearts has become quite revealing. One of the lies was Mexico funding a wall, billions in dollars for something so small. Now, Santa was fat and so was this man. One is jolly and the other has a bad spray tan. Then there's Vice President Mike Pence. Some say loyal, but he's just proven dense. Wanted to be loved and have no blame. Instead brought disgrace to the Pence name. On Giuliani, on Flynn, on Roger Stone and Bill Barr, 4 tiny liars from the clown car. The nightmare before Christmas is on our nation, unless you just watch a Fox News station. But we will survive, and this will be history. And people will wonder how they elected Donnie T. When it's quite simple and known as a fact, they voted for him because he wasn't a woman or black. So I'll exclaim without starting to cuss and say Merry Christmas to all, and don't be a doofus. I love you all. Have a blessed Christmas. Ho, 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 ho.